Hello, and welcome to the Recycle Right webinar. This is the special edition because we may or may not have had some technical difficulties with recording the original webinar. However, you're in for a real treat because I was able to make this version even better. Now, in the original version, I did have a co-host from All American Waste. That is the hauler that we use for our trash and recycling. You may have noticed that some of their trucks say USA Recycling. That is part of the same company. So I'm going to show you a lot of really cool clips, and all of those are courtesy of All American Waste, that shows what happens with your recyclables and single stream as they leave your house and eventually get turned into new things. So I want to start by introducing myself. I am Rachel Schnabel, the Recycling and Community Service Coordinator. If you haven't heard of my position before, that's because it's relatively new. I just started in April of this year, 2023. There are two main focuses of my job. One is dealing with the litter issues in town, and then the other is working on waste minimization initiatives. And that includes increasing not only the amount of participation in recycling, but also showing people how to recycle right. So what happens to your recyclables after the bin gets emptied into the truck? Well, for starters, they have a little camera so they can see what goes into the truck. It's really important that we put the right things into the recycle bin. Okay, so how do we make sure we put the right things into the recycle bin? Well, a load of recycling can actually get rejected if it has too much of what we call contamination in it. We're going to talk about 4 different forms of contamination here. So the first is if there's more trash than there is recycling. There's a certain ratio where if you go over that threshold, it's going to get rejected. And the best thing that we can do is just be as knowledgeable as possible about what can go in and what shouldn't. And a great resource for that is Recycle CT. Over the years, the rules of what goes into the blue bin has changed many, many times. And the state heard everybody's frustration at not knowing what goes into the blue bin at this point. And so what they did was they created this wonderful search tool where they talked to all of the sorting facilities in Connecticut that sort our recyclables. And they said, okay, what is allowed and what is not? And they created one comprehensive list. So any questions that you have at all, go to recyclect.gov and you will get this webpage and you can type in whatever you want. Pizza box, that's something that I commonly get asked about. You type it in, the items show up. Once you select it, scroll down, you can actually recycle a pizza box. Now, there's fine print. Always read the instructions. You can put it in if it does not contain food residue. Let's say it was a not greasy pizza. Maybe it also had a piece of wax paper underneath it or something, parchment paper. And the box is essentially clean. Recycle it. If it's a really dirty bottom, but the top looks good, you can always rip off the top and recycle the top. Okay, so as we just talked about with pizza box, you don't want to recycle materials that are soiled by food waste. And I know a lot of our containers once held food, but we need to rinse them out as best we can. It doesn't have to be perfect, especially for those really difficult items like a peanut butter jar. They hear you, they understand. I've been told multiple times, if you just fill it with water, let it soak for a while, dump it out, give it a quick rinse, recycle it, you're good to go. It doesn't have to be perfect. They just don't want a ton of food residue in the recycling. Cardboard or paper, if it gets wet, it is no longer good for recycling. So keep it dry, keep your bin covered. And then, of course, we want to avoid putting dangerous items into recycling. Things like batteries, chemicals, and other hazardous waste. All American Waste, they recommend going to Call to Recycle for guidance, but you can also go to me as a resource. In town, we have our household hazardous waste collection program, and we also accept many items at our transfer station that you might consider hazardous, like batteries. Okay, so you've put the right stuff in the recycle bin, it's been hauled away. Now let's check out what the sorting facility looks like.
Building a state-of-the-art recycling facility in Berlin, Connecticut that'll transform the way recyclable materials are processed and sorted for the entire Northeast. We were part of the original infrastructure to service single-stream recycling in the Northeast, and since that point we've been learning every day. We saw a great opportunity to just do things better. About 18 months ago we started working with Van Dyke to start putting some of those ideas on paper. It's replete with redundancy, artificial intelligence, robotics, automation, optical sorters. This system will be a keystone for the entire recycling infrastructure for the Northeast.
A system like this going into Connecticut is the biggest system and the best system right now in the New England area.
New England's known for leading the way in academics, medicine, robotics, artificial intelligence. New England can lead the way in recycling as well. We want to make it really simple. Put recycled material in your blue bin, and we got the rest.
Okay, couple things I want to note. He was talking about this facility like it's something that's being built. It has been built. Super state-of-the-art, really cool facility. Second thing, yes, we want you to not have to worry about the little things with the recycle bin. But again, there are certain things that we don't want to put in there. And we just covered a few of them, but I want to show you this next video to talk about what things can actually harm the sorting equipment. So this video is going to show you the first stage of sorting at the sorting facility, and it involves people because some things you just can't replace with machines.
I get more stuff than you and I'll even know what to do with.
So this is the room we call pre-sort. This is where they're going to pull out any of the material that doesn't belong in the stream. All your big bulky trash, your big bulky metal, your big bulky plastics, and then your smaller trash. What these guys are looking for are anything that's bigger than a soup can for bulky metal, then any plastic bags, tarps, any textiles, garden hose, anything long and stringy that can tangle the screens up. Everything's got its own certain bins. This bin here goes as your bulky metal. This bin and the far bin inside. The two center bins here are going to be your bulky trash, your bed frames, your mattresses, stuff like that. Sticking up, look at this big, large piece of metal coming through now. One of the things we don't take at this recycling facility, but we put this. So if that had made it through, that could have been catastrophic on the other side. So the screens, the optics, stuff like that. That's why we usually have the quick hands, the faster people that are stronger, those they're looking for, are up here in pre-sort. They're like the front line of defense for the whole system.
So just because you can fit it in the bin does not mean you should put it in the bin. And again, the transfer station is another resource for recyclables. So a lot of the things he just talked about, bulky metal waste, bulky plastic waste, bring those things to the transfer station. Okay, this is the last video, but this is just to show you what happens on the back end, how they pull together all the recyclables to be shipped out.
Is that loud? Kind of loud. Two different style balers here. We got a 2-rim baler here. They're known for their primary use for making bales of containers, plastic bottles, metal cans, aluminum cans. Because the principle behind it, you got to ram that packs in the back, ram that packs in the side. So it's a perfect like cube Lego. So the 2-ram balers used for all our cans and bottles, plastics, and our trash. We can bale all the other commodities on this as well, all their paper, our cardboard if need be. It adds to the redundancy of the whole system. The belts on this side of the system are reversible, so we can swap them off to either side to bale either commodity on either baler. We average about 200 bales per shift on a single ram baler. That's about 400 bales. This one's between anywhere between 130 and 165.
So you may have heard a lot of things about how much of your recyclables are actually recycled. And honestly, those statistics have changed greatly over the years, and it's also based on region. But where we are, rest assured, your items are actually getting recycled. All right, so let's talk real quick about what your recycled items get turned into. This information comes straight from All American Waste. These are the markets right now that they are selling these materials to. All right, so cardboard. Cardboard gets turned into more cardboard boxes as well as craft paper bags. Newspaper gets turned into egg cartons, paper goods, and insulation. Glass gets turned into new glass, as well as, I'm probably saying this wrong, but pozzolan, which is used to strengthen concrete. Aluminum gets turned into auto parts and non-food grade aluminum containers. PET plastic, also known as #1 plastics, are used for yarn for clothing, carpet, and vinyl flooring. HDPE, also known as #2 plastics, are used for buckets, toys, lumber, and outdoor furniture. Polypropylene, or #5 plastics, those are used to make other types of buckets, cleaning product packaging, and car parts. And then mixed plastics are used to make garden hoses and outdoor toys such as doll houses and sandboxes. So some good resources for knowing how to recycle. We already went to recyclect.gov. There's of course the town's website. The Sanitation Division is the most important webpage, and we now have a shortened link for that webpage. As you can see here, it is manchesterct.gov/sanitation. All lowercase, that's very important. And if it's not working for you, put https:// in front. All American Waste's website also has information on what is accepted for single stream. I do want to take a moment just to let you know that because the sorting facility is state of the art, there are certain things that they can accept that other sorting facilities can't. Therefore, on RecycleCT's website, it would show up as not being accepted. So the most important thing I'd say right now to highlight is that black plastics are recyclable. If you put in any kind of black plastic into recyclect.com, it will tell you it's not, but All American Waste Sorting Facility can recycle it. So all those takeout containers you have, if you're not using them, you can recycle them. All right, so let's visit the town's website now. All right, so here's the Sanitation Division webpage. It is a branch under the Public Works Department. The Public Works Department does have a Facebook and an Instagram. So if you're ever looking up specific events that are going on that the Sanitation Division is hosting, details for those will certainly be posted on the social media pages. But we are working to make sure that everything on the town's website is up to date, and we will try as best we can to also include information on all of the events as they come up. All right, so one thing I want to point out is we have a brand new subpage called Sustainable Waste Management. It covers the 6 R's of recycling. That's right, there are 6 now. It's not just reduce, reuse, recycle. It's now rethink, refuse, reduce, repair, reuse, recycle. And for those of you who wouldn't think of it this way, compost is considered a form of recycling. So each of these here are tabs that talk about these different topics and provide resources. But let's stay focused Because now that we've talked single stream recycling to death, I want to let you know what resources we have at the transfer station. So when you come to the transfer station, there is a story map. We're hoping to have this set up so it's embedded straight into the web page, but for now, it's going to take you to a separate website. All right, let's begin our virtual tour. So this is a tour that you can take for yourself. I am going to go through each of the points very quickly, just so you understand all of the wonderful resources we have at the transfer station. All right, I'm just going to do it this way. This is in a natural flow order. So your first stop is the sanitation office, which we also call the scale house, because that is where the commercial truck drivers come through to get weighed on the big scale to get charged for bringing items to the landfill. The landfill is just for commercial use, although our bulky waste items and our residential construction and demolition waste do end up in the landfill. All right, so this is the place where you want to go to get your recycling permit, which is free to all residents of Manchester. And it's also the place you want to go to get a punch card for the items at the transfer station that do cost money to dispose of. So nearly all recycled items at the transfer station are free to recycle. Anything else, you use your punch card for, and it's based off of carload. You can also pick up leaf bags here. All right, as you drive up the driveway and you're about to turn into the transfer station, you will notice to your left that there is our leaf composting operation. So all those leaves that get sucked up in the fall, they get put in rows here and turned into compost. All right, so you turn into the transfer station and there's a little shed where you will be welcomed by the transfer station attendant. There, they will check for your recycling permit and or your punch card and let you know where to dispose of your things. So right across from that shed, there are two storage units. One is for recycling tires. Now, unfortunately, right now, it does cost money to recycle tires. There is a new law going into effect. I believe in 2025, it will be free to recycle tires, but unfortunately, they are not free at this time to recycle. The storage unit next to it is for donating very specific types of furniture that we're teaming with the Human Services Department on to donate to those who really need it. In particular, we're focusing on people who are going from homeless to housed. We also have our wood chip pile here, and I'll explain how that gets here in a second, but this is free to all residents, as well as the finished compost pile, free to residents. So make sure to take advantage of that. All right, right across this way in this storage unit is our mattressing recycling area. That is free. We also have our bulky rigid plastic container here. And the key part to remember here is bulky. Those bulky items do not belong in single stream, so please bring them here. Some examples of what bulky rigid plastic is are listed here. All of these have descriptors to help you figure out what goes where. We also accept single stream recycling here. If you have so much that it won't all fit in your bin, you can put it here. I've also got a little plug later for getting a second recycle bin, but we'll get there. We accept cooking oil. Inside this shed, there's also an area to dump your antifreeze and your waste oil. We accept 20-pound gas grill sized propane tanks. The really tiny ones need to go to the household hazardous waste collection, and we do not accept the really large ones. We have textile recycling. So it's not just clothing that's in good condition. We do want it clean, but you know, if you have something with a hole in it or whatever, it's too worn, you don't want to wear it anymore, bring it here. They try to they try to reuse as much of the clothing, blankets, shoes, bedding, whatever, that's still in good condition. And then what's not, they turn into rags, and what can't be used for rags, they try to recycle the fibers. I hate this sign. I am going to be replacing this sign very soon. Because this is not where you'll be putting food waste. We are having a food waste collection program starting soon. This is where you take your typical household garbage, you know, the trash bag from your kitchen, from your bathroom, that kind of garbage. We just have to be very careful when we use the word trash because there's so many different types of trash. Cardboard, if you get a lot of cardboard from all of the packages that you're ordering, just you can put them straight into this bin. Paint, we accept paint. If your acrylic paint has completely dried within the can, just toss it. But if it's still liquid or you've got oil-based paint, we take them. We also take electronics of all different sorts. We've got a list here to tell you what's accepted. We've got our scrap metal bins. And then we start getting around the corner to the other side of the transfer station. So note that everything, with the exception of the household garbage, everything on the right side of the transfer station is recyclable. So we want to recycle as much as we can. On the other side, we've got residential bulky waste and construction and demolition waste. So as I mentioned before, those items do end up in our landfill. And then there's the same thing for commercial users. We also have couches, armchairs, and sofas. And then refrigerants. Those do get recycled. However, it is a chargeable item because we remove the refrigerants from those items first, and so that costs money. All right, so if you go up, it's kind of up the hill, just a little bit. You'll see wooden pallets, you'll see brush, and you'll see yard waste. So yard waste, if you have some bagged yard waste that you want to get rid of right away, or maybe you don't get residential curbside collection from the town, you can bring it here. Brush, the brush is what gets turned into the wood chips that you saw at the beginning of the tour. And then, I've already forgotten, this is wooden pallets. Yes, we also take wooden pallets, and those also get chipped into the wood chips. All right, so that is your tour of the transfer station. So if you've never been, you really should. And, if you want to get a better sense of where everything is and what's provided at the transfer station, this story map is a great way to do that. So to continue encouraging you to use all the wonderful resources that we have at the transfer station, I wanted to touch base very quickly on the process for obtaining a punch card and recycling permit. First, you go to the sanitation webpage, which we've already visited. Then you select the transfer station subpage, and then scroll down to select the online request form. In this form, you'll fill out a few simple questions, and you'll be asked to upload 2 proofs of residency here in Manchester. Now, I get a lot of complaints about this. Most people want to know, why is a license not good enough on its own? And the reason is that when people move, the address on their license does not change. So that is why we ask for a second form of proof that you are a Manchester resident. Once you upload those 2 forms of proof, you submit the application and then stop by the sanitation office to pick up your punch card and recycling permit. If you just want a recycling permit, that's fine. You don't have to apply for a punch card. And if you do select a punch card, you will pay the fee at the sanitation office. I mentioned earlier that I would have a plug for a second recycling card. That's right. You can get a second recycling cart for free. Now, I do want to emphasize this is only for the residents that we serve. So if you do not have a trash and recycling cart that says Town of Manchester on it, I'm sorry, but I can't help you. But if you do, then you can get a second recycling cart following a very similar process to that of getting a recycling permit. First, you go to the sanitation webpage. This time you select the residential collection subpage, scroll down to find the online request form. And once you select that request form, you'll fill out even fewer questions. And then once you submit it, you can go to the sanitation office to pick up your brand new cart. And we love visitors, so come visit us. Use our transfer station. Once you've got that recycling permit and the punch card, you don't need to stop at the sanitation office before going straight to that little shed where you'll meet the attendant. So this is really just a preliminary step to get what you need, and we can't wait to see you. And as I promised earlier, here again is my contact information. And with that, thank you for joining us, and I hope you had a wonderful National Recycling Day.